How to avoid the new 2025 Italian Citizenship by Descent law. Is there a way now to apply also after the new law, the new Law 74 of 2025? Today we want to talk about it. We want to go very deep and we want to reply to all your questions, because in the last month we received tons of questions, tons of emails asking what you can do now. Today we will cover all these questions. This is Marco Bersani from the Bersani Law Office from Italy, an Italian immigration law firm with expertise on Italian citizenship by descent applications. So do not lose any more time and let's start. So let's make a very quick recap, because we assume that you know what we are talking about, but maybe it's the first time that you are watching this video, or the first time maybe you are hearing about the new legislation of 2025. So what, really briefly, so what happened? This year, 2025, the Italian government approved an emergency decree that was later converted into an ordinary law. With the new legislation, basically the Italian government introduced new restriction, new limitation for the application for Italian citizenship by descent, the so-called Italian Citizenship Jure Sanguinis. So basically, just a very quick recap, there are some generational limits, the other limitations, so also for minors, who can apply, who cannot apply anymore. So there are a lot of restrictions that were made by the emergency decree. We don't talk about it because we already made another video, so I will leave you here in the comment section the link to the video if you want to understand more about the new legislation, what happened, the new provisions. And so we think, of course, that's a dedicated video for that. Today, we want to, as I said, cover and reply and to solve all the common questions, all the common doubts. And because from one side, we had the new legislation, the Law 74 of 2025, that introduced these many restrictions, trying to discourage people. But at the same time, things, in meanwhile, evolved a little bit. We had a lot of positive recent results, actually, with, for example, the Constitutional Court. The Constitutional Court at the end of July made a really huge decision, and it was called the battle of all the battles that indirectly affect the new legislation. Next year, in 2026, there will be another Constitutional Court hearing that will touch directly the new legislation, because of course when the new legislation was introduced, all the immigration attorneys that were starting to fighting all the cases with the courts, starting to also asking the court, the local courts, to also forward the new legislation in front of the Constitutional Court. We also did it in many cases, and actually there was one tribunal, the Tribunale of the Court of Turin, called the Tribunale of Torino, that decided to say, yes, I understand the concern, I also see some constitutional concern, and so they forward the constitutional question in front of the Constitutional Court, because we think, of course, and we agree with that, the new legislation, there is a lot of constitutional shadows, some unconstitutional concerns, and so in many ways this new law, in our opinion, should be amended partially or eventually completely. So right now we are in a sort of a situation where we have the new legislation with the restriction, but at the same time we had this first Constitutional Court hearing that indirectly trace the path for reopening the doors to all people that want to claim Italian citizenship by descent, and also locally the court starting to also say, wait, this provision of the new law cannot be applied. So right now, the good thing and the good news is that if you have a case under certain circumstances, you can still apply and go through the court challenging your case. You cannot go for the moment to the consulate, to the Italian municipalities, because the consulate in Italian municipalities, they will apply the new law. So you cannot solve with them, you cannot argue with them, no, the new law is constitutional, blah, blah, blah. No, you need to apply through the court if you want to challenge your case. And if you want your case to be processed under the old rules, so all the rules pre-application, so before the 2025 new legislation. How can you do that and why you can do that? This is the most important thing. Today we want to cover this topic. So let's start. So what you can do? What you can do if you have a case or a pending case or a case you want to start from the beginning. So you are about to start your case. So what you can do? Let's start about the legal basis of all the applications. First of all, if you have, let's say if you have a pending case, for example, you have a case that were already pending with the Italian consulate, or for example, you were looking to start a case with the Italian consulate, it's like many years you're trying to get an appointment, but it's always impossible. This is, of course, a well-known situation, a well-known problem with the consulate since the COVID pandemic. Actually, this is a pretty known situation. But how? This is the important question. How this situation is relevant for you now, given the new legislation that was introduced? Well, we need to start from, beside the last constitutional court process, on what some tribunals, some courts locally are saying about the current situation after the new legislation. I want to mention the decision that was made in the end of May 2025 from the court of Campobasso, the Tribunale of Campobasso in the Molise region. This one of the first court that made a dark statement about what you can do after the new legislation. The court basically said, if you were born before the new legislation, so you were born, let's say, in 1995, you already got your right of claiming Italian citizenship by descent, you got your right of citizenship by blood at the moment of your birth. And your birth happened before the new legislation, before 2025. That's the most important thing, the key point of everything. So, in that scenario, you were born before 2025, then you already got your right of Italian citizenship by descent at the moment of your birth by blood, and so you can still be approved under the pre-legislation, the pre-2025 legislation. That's very, very important, because actually if you are not a newborn, then you can still have your case approved under the old legislation. So everything works, as you understand, for people born before the new legislation. So if you have a baby now, so a newborn after the new legislation, of course the newborn will follow the current new 2025 law. There are no escape on that. So this becoming very, very relevant in all the situation of when you can claim Italian citizenship by descent. Because, for example, if you are want to claim your citizenship by descent by going to the court because of the lack of appointment, well, here it's relevant also because beside what the legal principle said by this court, then you can say, I was trying to get my appointment, I was ready to make my claim of Italian citizenship by descent before this year. Let's say you were looking for an appointment since 2023, 2024. So you were ready before the new legislation, you were ready to be recognized as an Italian dual citizen at that time before the new legislation, and so you can ask the court to have your case recognized, your case approved, and so you to be recognized as an Italian citizen because your right was ready to be claimed before the new legislation. At the same time, of course, the same legal principle can be applicable to the so-called 1948 case. With the 1948 case, of course, there's a lot of shadow actually against these around these cases, because the 1948 cases as a special category of cases, they are technically out of the law. Those cases are not set by a law. And also in the past, if you had a 1948 case, you cannot go to the consulate, also under the old legislation. You had to go to the court anyway. So if you have a 1948 case, we can apply, is our opinion, we can apply the same legal principle to also these kind of cases. Because if we recall the legal principle set by the local tribunal, and so if you were born before 2025, you already got your right by blood at the moment of your birth. So this is the same for a 1948 case. If you have a maternal line, if you have a 1948 case, and you were born in 1992, you already got your right through a 1948 cases before the new legislation. So the situation is still the same. Of course, here you have not to make any legal argumentation with lack of appointment with the consulate, because it's not a case you cannot process at the consulate, so you cannot go directly straightforward through a court. But the legal principle is the same. You already got your right by descent, by blood, at the moment of your birth. And if you were born before 2025, you can still apply under the old rules, the previous legislation. Same thing as I said for the other category. If you have new babies now, for newborns born after 2025, the new law 2025, then they cannot apply. They are still under the new legislation, of course, because born after the new legislation. So what is important right now, because many people say, I read about the new law, I read about the restriction, I read that I cannot apply anymore because I start from a great grandparents. What I can do? Well, right now, we are filming October 2025. Right now, this is what you can do. Right now, there are all the legal principles that allow you to go to the court, to challenge your case, and to have your right recognized by the court. This is the only way right now to do that. You cannot go to the consulate by saying, no, I want my case to be processed under the previous legislation, because the consulate will simply act according to the law at the time. That's it. Maybe next year in 2026, things will be more will be fixed, also thanks to the new constitutional court proceeding that we are pretty optimistic will partially, at least partially, destroy the new legislation, because in our opinion and in the wide opinion of the legal community, this carries a lot of unconstitutional points, among the text. But beside this point, right now you need to file, and it's important to file. It's important to file because when you file, you set your case in stone. So if there are, as we expect, all other new courts right now that will start to rule by saying, yes, of course, you got your right recognized at the moment of your birth. If you continue to wait, you will arrive at the moment where it will be too late to apply, because we will change. The parliament will approve a new legislation, sometime with no constitutional concern, because of course, they made a mistake once, but they will not do it twice. And so this is the time to proceed. Do not wait. Contact your local immigration attorney, ask for evaluation. You can contact us, of course, generally do a free eligibility check of the case. You can go to the website, use the contact form, contact us, sending us all the family line information. We can do a free eligibility check of your case. If you have a case, we can move forward as soon as possible with your case. Or, of course, if you have other questions, something you want to ask, you can book a consultation call so we can have a face-to-face conversation to have a better consultation about your case and all, of course, for solving all questions you may have. Thank you again for your time. We will make new videos soon about all the news updates. There are also with the minor cases, so please be connected to the channel, subscribe to the channel. That's very, very important. It's important to subscribe to the channel, not just for supporting us, because we are making these videos, of course, for free, but also for helping you, to give you some latest updates, information, but also for you to be notified as soon as possible. If we post any video, you can reach the video immediately as a subscriber. Thank you as always for your time, and see you again in the next videos.